This is the Barry Richards Show. WBSM On Demand.
Without further ado,
WBSM presents The Barry Richards Show. Streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Text us using App Chat on the WBSM app. Now, The Barry Richards Show.
Blue Collar TV. Remember that show? I don't know if it's still around, but it was halfway decent when it was on. Let's see. Getting very cloudy out right now, but at least it's dry. Not expecting any rain for tomorrow's show, which is nice. Probably some rain during the early part of next week. 46 degrees in Westport, same for Marion. 46 in New Bedford. And thanks to South Coast Towing, it's the WBSM app on your smartphone. We spent quite a bit of time during hour number one talking about your tax dollars and how they're being spent. And I know there's frustration. I know there is frustration among the flock. I'm frustrated, believe me. And we all feel that we're getting to the point where we don't know what to do about it. And I always love to ask, so what are you going to do about it? Because we can't rely on Senator Warren, Senator Markey, the congressional delegation. Are you counting on them to fix it? Haven't you noticed every time when not only our Congress people, but Congress people from other states, presidents, doesn't matter the party, every time they go to fix it, all of a sudden there's a leaky faucet somewhere else, and it costs even more to take care of that leaky faucet than the original pipe problem. $200 million earmarked. Hasn't gone there yet. Look, here's the beauty of it. I told you about $200 million set to go to Kenya, so Kenya could send their troops to help quell what's going on Haiti. Because the United States doesn't want to send its troops, and I agree, I don't want our troops to go there. But I don't want our tax dollars going to some other nation to try to, basically, here's what it really comes down to. The United States is pulling the puppet strings along with France to try to right the ship the way that they want Haiti to be. Not necessarily what the Haitians want Haiti to be, but what the United States wants Haiti to be. It's called imperialism. And while I'm all for profiteering, not when it comes to helping to uproot a leader or assassinate a leader of another country so we can try to do regime change. Call it a coup d'etat. Call it what you want to call it. But that's not me. To me, that is not capitalism. That is cannibalizing on a situation. Do you want your tax dollars financing basically what would be Kenyan thugs to go over to Haiti to, as they say, to stop the gangs from roaming? From what I'm reading, from what I'm seeing, there are, you can call them a gang, you can call them groups of people, you can call them individual police squads. There are rogue groups, and they've been around since the 1950s, but they've grown, and they've grown courtesy of the United States of America. Why do I say that? Because every time that we put a Duvalier in or take an Aristide out, the gangs become the de facto police for their area. They do protection, just like we've heard of organized crime doing protection. And now some of these organizations, good protectors, bad protectors, are banding together to try to stop the United States from bringing Kenya type folks in, bringing folks in from Brazil. Brazil's already said no. I think Barbados has already said no to going to Haiti to be the de facto police squad for the United Nations, not really the United Nations, but for France and the United States. Now, I break it down like that because both France and the United States have direct veto power in the United Nations Security Council. So any policy that they don't want that can affect Haiti in what they would consider to be a negative way, well, they can slap veto. Same as the United States slapped veto on aid to Gaza and the ceasefire. Then they have Linda Greenfield, and I forgot the last name, out there blaming Russia and China for their veto. We have some whacked people in high positions. And it's not just the Biden administration. The same thing happened during the Trump administration. I'm just leaving it at those two administrations to show you what really is going on. And that's your tax dollars, same as it's your tax dollars dealing with what's going on in the Middle East. Our tax dollars go to Israel, and Israel then turns around and what do they get? Jet fighters, grenade launchers, all kinds of weaponry. And who do they use that weaponry against? Folks on the Gaza Strip, folks in the West Bank. That's our tax dollars funding that slaughter. Now, if you're okay with the slaughter, let me know. But don't blame Hamas. Yeah, Hamas did the attack on October 7th. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But they will tell you, and you can try to have that debate with them all you want, but they're going to tell you, and the Palestinians will agree with Hamas, that they're fighting for their freedom. They're fighting for statehood, nationhood. All right, I've been yibbing and yabbing. Let's hear from you. 508-996-0500. Thank you. Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Winging and wanging.
A few things, Brian. We should get a podcast together. Do a podcast.
Why? Now, why do we want to do that?
Because it would just be epic. Hey, man, a few things you got on the table today. Trans athletes, all this stuff. Hey, out of respect to women, I think South Carolina should change their name to the Game Hens. I think it's the right thing to do.
The Game Hens instead of the Gamecocks?
Yes, because the cock is a rooster, and they're women. So it should be the South Carolina Game Hens, as they should call the women's basketball team. There's so many things, man. This Kenyan aid, it's soldier of fortune, mercenary. aid disguised as foreign aid. We'll pay you this much money if you send a bunch of mercenaries over to Haiti, because Haiti is an absolute mess. And
Well,
that's what
why is Haiti a mess?
I think colonization. I think their awful history down in the island of Hispaniola. Their official language is French because of French colonization. It's like in Angola,
Correct.
Mozambique.
Yeah, they kicked the French out. They kicked the French out.
Yeah, like somewhere like the late 1700s, early 1800s. The people that were forced to go live there, as like a place to transport slaves, they rose up and said, "To hell with this nonsense." Haiti actually comes from an old Indian word meaning high ground. That's what it means in some old Indian language. And yeah, man, we're involved in all sorts of chaos all around the earth and have been for a long time. And you're talking about Gaza, we don't get a true history of what's been going on in that part of the world.
You have to
For the past 100 years,
search for
we
it.
could bias version.
You have to search for it. And no matter how you search for it, you're going to get some type of bias version. But the mere fact is, after you cultivate 3 or 4 different versions, then you can formulate your own opinion.
But you're not going to get it on our media. Our media is incredibly pro-Israel, and any criticism of that country, people throw anti-Semite. They try to throw that at you because they don't want a discussion. It's absurd to think that mankind could bring back a biblical nation. It's absolutely, utterly absurd. And it was brought back specifically for where we are now, right on the doorsteps of World War III. Because you're not stopping that chaos that's going on over there. Israel's getting a sacrifice to Red Heifer because they think it's going to bring them power and bring back their Messiah and they can build a third temple. There's a lot of insane stuff going on there. Whether you believe it or not is irrelevant. The people that are putting on the show believe it. And you're going to have to adjust to their show. That's what's happening to us right now.
I don't think people want to adjust. I think people look at Hamas and the Palestinians as second-class citizens.
Exactly.
Those
people
Hamas is nothing more than a bunch of terrorists. It's not people. By the way, Hamas became Hamas courtesy of Israel.
The country that's fighting it.
That's right.
Create your enemy so you can just
haven't we seen that here?
All the inhabitants of the land.
Haven't we seen that here in the United States? How did the Mujahideen become Al Qaeda?
Yeah, it's a puzzle that if you want to put all the pieces together, our media will hide some of the puzzle pieces so you can't put it all together. And then they'll give you the fake puzzle pieces that'll take you in a different direction.
I got you, man. Thanks for the call.
All right.
I do appreciate it. 508-996-0500 is how you get on to the program. Ukraine. My goodness. How could I forget Ukraine? 2014, Victoria Nuland. She was highly responsible for the overthrow of the government in Ukraine. And now, I remember when this happened a little over 2 years ago. All of a sudden, we started seeing the Ukraine flags going up because people were thinking Russia has invaded. And remember the stories after that? Remember people calling up, and you know what's going to happen? Russia is looking to take over all that land that they used to have back when they were the Soviet bloc, without any kind of proof that that's what they're up to. Now, Putin was interviewed by Tucker Carlson, and he said, no, they don't have any plans of doing anything like that. Now, he could be lying through his teeth, or he could be doing what the Russians believe that Putin has the military doing, and that is trying to take care of the Russian people that lived in the Donbass region of and Crimea, those regions of Ukraine that were being bombarded on a regular basis by the folks that took over in 2014. But no, you don't hear that side of the story. So, if you don't hear that side of the story, if you don't connect the dots, then you're apt to believe, as many people believe, many people calling into this radio station believe, Russia invaded Ukraine, and they're looking to take over Ukraine and all the other territory. They're going to go up to Poland. I don't believe that. I could be wrong, but I'm willing to do a bet on it. Are you? Or are you just going to yip yap and say, "Oh, that's what they're doing"? Same thing with Gaza. We have been watching with an absolute disbelief, and I say disbelief almost tongue-in-cheek, because, once you see it happening a couple of times, then it's ingrained. This is what Israel is out to do. Israel, I'm not one that believes it's genocide. I don't think they're trying to kill all the people. To me, that's what a genocide is. But I definitely believe that they're trying to root out all of the people from that area. So call it an ethnic cleansing. I believe they are definitely into that. And they won't admit it. They'll tell you that, well, Hamas is hiding here. Hamas was using the hospital. Anytime, Israel will come up with some type of proof, then it gets debunked. But people don't, they don't care. They don't care because inside they want to believe the story that they've been told repeatedly, that Hamas is a terrorist group, the Palestinians are really nothing. They don't have a homeland. Well, they don't have a homeland because Israel keeps on chipping away at it. I'm going to take one more call before we go into the break. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Hey there.
Hey there.
I've been listening to you for the last hour, and I've resisted calling in till now, but I just want to know, if you were in charge of Israel and your 1,100 people were killed, what would you do? You seem to be really smart about everything else after the fact, but what would you do on the day of October 12th to protect your people after 1,100 got killed that day? What would you do? Would you send them all a letter in Hamas and in Palestine and say, hey, we're trying not to get in your way anymore? Or would you send troops in to try to kill the Hamas people that killed your Israeli citizens? What would you do?
Great question. Thank you for asking. I would look back over what made Hamas do what they did that day. And accordingly, I would say, well, let's see. Hamas has said they want their people released from prison. That's why they took prisoners. They also, and by the way, let me finish your question first. And then I would say, well, maybe if we would stop mowing the lawn in their territory, maybe they wouldn't be coming into our territory to kill our people. Now, does that mean that we wouldn't strike back for killing them? Sure, we probably would, but we wouldn't be trying to do it over a 6-month period. And we wouldn't be going after the innocent people.
Which, unfortunately, the Hamas, in many cases, have hidden behind the innocent people or in the hospitals. Because that's
the story that you're hearing there. They've had too many people searching to see if there's any truth to that story, and it doesn't seem to be there.
Well, I guess it's all just a giant lie, and nothing happened on October 12th.
No. We're not. No, October 7th.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. That certainly happened, but it's being blind to whatever happened prior to October 7th.
Right, I understand, but there were disputes between the Japanese and the United States before Pearl Harbor because the Japanese wanted certain resources, and we were negotiating against that for whatever reason, but then they decided to attack. This is not that big a difference from what you just outlined, which is there's grievances from Palestine to Israel, and it seems like there needs to be a step up of communication and negotiation to resolve the issues. But the attack happened, just like it did in Pearl Harbor. And when you have a murderous attack, there's generally going to be a murderous response.
The murderous attack took place after murderous attacks within the Gaza Strip, where Israel is in occupied territory. They took over that territory. That's not their territory. Anything that happens to them inside that territory, they deserve what goes on.
Murders, rapes, beheadings, all that.
None of that. You know what?
It didn't happen, right?
To the best of our knowledge, it did not happen. Now, I'm going to back off just a little bit. Some of the rapes probably did happen, but there's nothing to show any type of beheading. Nothing.
Well, Israel is better at PR than Hollywood, I guess.
Well, Israel, yeah. And not only are they good at that, they're also good at throwing their money around in Congress.
Well, it doesn't seem like either side I would believe at this point. So I guess that just let them have at it. I guess. I mean, I don't know what else to say. You're fighting one battle in your dialogue, and I'm not necessarily standing up for either side. I'm just trying to understand. We all see what happened. It was reported in multiple news sources and independent sources. So, I understand there's going to be a response to that. What happened on October 7th, but. Yeah.
I appreciate that. The part that I'm trying to bring in, I'm going to let you go because I got to go to a break. The part that I'm trying to bring in here is the fact that that attack on October 7th was the beginning of what Hamas and company want to chime as the beginning of the end for all of the other attacks that have taken place within Gaza, courtesy of the Israelis. The Israelis have been running their life, and they don't want that. Just like the United States didn't want England running our lives anymore, and that led to a war. That's why there is a war going on now. But here's the thing. And the caller brought up the United States and the Japanese. That war, that part of World War II, at least in the Pacific, that wasn't going after civilians. Israel has been going after the civilians in the Gaza. They've been going after the Palestinians. They've been killing people walking down the street. They've been using drones, innocent people, no weapons, just shooting them dead. And then when one guy got up, crawling, the drone knocked him down dead again. 508-996-0500. Brian in for Barry. The quote of the day, courtesy of Monthly Fee RX. If you're spending less than $20 a month for prescription drugs, great. If not, monthlyfeerx.com might be a good option for you. Gay liberation? I ain't against it. It's just that there's nothing in it for me. That quote from Betty Davis. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Yes, referencing the last caller about the Israel-Hamas thing. Now, I know Israel lies just like every country lies, but Hamas states that their ultimate goal is to wipe Israel off the map and kill every last Jew, whether it comes by hook or by crook. They can lie, steal, and cheat, even through the media and through public ways. So how can you trust them at all when they state that they will lie in order to accomplish their goals?
I don't know who to trust. I know that I don't want my tax dollars going down a black hole like that.
Well, I believe
it's obvious you can't trust either one.
Is Ukraine, and they just continue shipping the billions and billions of dollars.
I hear you, man. I'm in your camp on that. We're getting screwed. We're getting screwed.
It's total nonsense all the way around. But as far as Hamas goes, I don't know how you can even trust a word they say when they state publicly that their goal is to wipe Israel off the map and kill every last Jew, throw them all into the sea.
Well, you know what?
So,
here's how I look at it. They came out and made that statement, as you say. Israel isn't making that statement, but that's what they're doing. So, like I said,
them?
I blame. Yes, you know what? Yes, I do. I want to blame. Look, both sides probably want to wipe each other out. Okay.
Well, if we had a country on our border stating that they wanted to every last American and take the whole land, what do you think we would be doing to them? If
they came into the United States, I think we would try to fight them back. But here's the difference.
Okay.
Here's the difference. Israel is blocking their land. Israel is in Gazan land.
I'm sorry, but that's Israel's land.
No,
God
it's not.
gave that to them.
Grow
God
up, man. It's not Israel's land.
You grow up.
No,
You're
you
an
grow
idiot,
up.
dude.
Yeah,
you
okay.
Are
Well,
so ignorant.
No, okay. Tell me about
tell
me about
man
my
I
ignorance. Tell me about the ignorance.
Tell you about what?
Tell me about the ignorance.
You're ignorant. You're all for Hamas, but you want to blame it all on Israel. Who went in there and started this? Hamas.
What do you mean? Who started what?
They went in there on the 7th and killed 1,100
I'm sorry.
people.
They went in there on the 7th because they were defending themselves from all the other stuff that Israel did to them.
Oh, okay. Then they've done nothing.
I didn't say
They're
they
just
did
so
nothing.
Nice and good.
I didn't say
Israel's
that.
just supposed to lay down and take it.
Well, you know what? They're getting pummeled right now, and they're still winning. So what do you say to that?
Who's winning?
Hamas, the Palestinians. How do I
winning?
figure? Because the stated goal of Israel is to wipe out Hamas, and they can't do that.
They want to wipe out Hamas, not all Palestinians.
Well, they've done
Hamas
it, but the problem is they're
Jew.
Well, you know what? They've killed about 30,000 Palestinians and hardly any Hamas. So
that's because Hamas uses the people.
Oh, no, that is what you hear.
As shields.
That's what you hear. That is what you hear.
It's all lies, then. It's all lies.
Well,
all the way
you know
around.
what? Most people think that what comes out through our media is a lie. So you lie on your bed wherever way you want to do it. I appreciate the call. Let us continue. 508-996-0500. Let's go here. Hello.
Hey, good morning. Good afternoon, Brian.
Well, tomorrow morning you can say good morning.
Yeah, that's right. The problem is why there's so much confusion is because they don't understand. Israel today is not the Israel of God, of those that are of the flesh, but those that are of the spirit, like the apostles. They were all Hebrews. They were of Israel. They were all Jews chosen by God. And they followed Christ. And they obeyed his commands. And they all died turning the other cheek, being witnesses, and forgiving those that killed them. Just like Stephen in Acts 6 and 7, who was a Greek. When you have the gift of the Holy Spirit, you have no fear of those that kill the body and can do no more. You fear your Father in heaven who can destroy your soul and body in
Do
hell.
you think that either the Israelis or Hamas is thinking like that at this particular time?
Not at all. That's the problem, unfortunately. In James chapter 4, it covers that beautifully. We have to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God. That's why there's no peace in the world for those that are not in Christ and that know that don't have that knowledge. I'm going to read from James chapter 4.
Not on the show. You're not. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
But anyways, there is one lawgiver, right? It's not the Supreme Court. It's not the court of any of these nations. There's only one lawgiver, and that's God.
Gotcha. Thank you. And I don't want to. I just don't think that if you're Hamas right now, the Palestinians, if you are the Israelis, you're looking at it as, well, there's one God. I think, as I said earlier, that folks don't want to look at Hamas as freedom fighters. If you've noticed a couple of the calls that have been challenging me, they have stated as if it started on October 7th. If you're Hamas, if you are the Palestinians, this part of it, this particular part of it, goes back to at least 1967, and for some, all the way back to 1948. And the Gaza Strip is their territory. They don't have freedom of movement. They don't. They are treated not even as second-class citizens in their own land. I have mentioned before, this is very similar to the apartheid of South Africa. Eventually, there will be some type of ending here. Will it drag on for 20 years like Afghanistan? I don't know. Will it end tomorrow? I doubt it, but anything's possible. But at this particular time, and the reason to go back to that previous caller that I was having a bit of a tiffing match with, Hamas, the Palestinians, the reason why I say they are winning is because every time that Israel proposes something, it's because Israel is at a point where they have to. They had to pull their troops out of the Gaza Strip because of the fact that they kept on losing vehicles and losing troops. Now, are they losing as many as 30,000? No. But a lot of that 30,000 aren't Hamas troops. Now, I'm not going to be foolish enough to sit here and say that some members of Hamas are not using citizens as a shield. Same thing happened in Vietnam. And I believe that if the United States were in a similar situation where we were being invaded by a force from out of the sky, that we would probably hide in places that we shouldn't hide in. Hospitals are off limits, and even Haaretz, which is an Israeli newspaper, they have reported after being able to go into the hospitals, the United Nations has reported after going into the hospitals, that there is no apparent sign that Hamas was hiding in the hospitals. Even though Israel said, look at these weapons. Hey, you've heard of Photoshop. That's what Israel has been doing here. Maybe not Photoshop, but something very similar. And the 1,100, how many were killed on that opening night of the invasion? Haaretz reported that it looks like Israeli planes, fighter jets, actually killed Israeli citizens. Now, I found that a little hard to believe at the time, but, everything was hectic at that particular time, and sometimes you don't know who's running away from whom, and if you're shooting wildly, you could easily kill your own people. But as I advanced that story a couple of months ago, when there were some Israeli soldiers that escaped and were gunned down by other Israeli soldiers, what's that telling you? You're waving a white flag and you still get gunned down? Oh, we didn't know who they were. And then the aid workers earlier this week, end of last week, killing them, killing folks that are ambulance workers as they go to save lives? This is what Israel has been doing. Now, you can say whatever you want about Hamas. This is what Israel is doing with your tax dollars. If you're okay with Israel doing that with your tax dollars, well, you can call me an idiot all you want. But I would suggest taking a look at your own head. We have ABC News coming away at the top of the hour, and then Ariel will give us a local update. To wrap this up, and we can bring it into hour number 3 of Barry's show, what Hamas wants, and getting back to why I believe they are winning at this particular time, doesn't mean they're going to win the whole thing, is they want a hostage swap. They got one at the beginning, and let's remember what Israel said. They would not give up any of the Palestinians that they have in custody, yet they did for 6 days. And they realize that they're going to have to do more if there is ever going to be a ceasefire. It's Israel that has been saying no to any type of permanent ceasefire. And they're also saying no to giving the Palestinians, West Bank and Gaza, their own homeland. You give them their homeland, and I'm willing to bet that they'll be able to work out some type of permanent ceasefire. Does that mean that there aren't going to be angry people on both sides? Of course there will be. Does that mean that every skirmish will end? Of course not. But that's the way to lasting peace. Israel is holding a lot of people that have not even gone up for trial. They've been holding them for several years. Hamas is fighting for their release. Hamas is fighting for a homeland for the Palestinians. That's why the Palestinians stick with Hamas. And until they can work out some kind of agreement, there probably is not going to be a permanent ceasefire. Wow. Next hour, Architect Managed IT Services is going to give you another chance to win